Are you allowed to do that? Earnest Money Edition. Only licensed attorneys are authorized to draft legal documents and provide legal advice to clients. If a realtor were to draft language that contradicts the requirements of South Carolina's earnest money deposit law, this could potentially result in legal consequences for the realtor. Disclaimer: the information provided in this video should not be considered legal advice. It is solely intended for educational and informational purposes only. According to Section 4057-136 of the South Carolina Code of Laws, any earnest money deposit made in connection with a real estate transaction must be held in a trust account by a licensed broker or attorney. Now, it is important to note that once the earnest money deposit is made, the buyer typically will not be entitled to receive it back unless the seller agrees to release the funds or through a court order. This means that even if the buyer terminates the sale for a valid reason, they will not automatically receive their deposit back. The contract of sale contains a provision that both parties must execute an agreement authorizing the disbursement of the earnest money deposit before the escrow agent can release the funds. This means that if either party wishes to receive the deposit, they must obtain the other party's consent and sign the necessary documents. If a realtor wrote language in the sales contract that stated the buyer would automatically receive the earnest money deposit back if they decided to terminate the contract, this would not necessarily be legally binding, as the realtor is not licensed to practice law and cannot provide legal advice. Under South Carolina law, only licensed attorneys are authorized to draft legal documents and provide legal advice to clients. If a realtor were to draft language that contradicts the requirements of South Carolina's earnest money deposit law, this could potentially result in legal consequences for the realtor, as they may be seen as providing legal advice without the necessary license or expertise. Furthermore, if a buyer were to rely on the realtor's erroneous language and terminate the contract, expecting to receive the earnest money deposit back automatically, they may be disappointed to learn that this is not the case, and they would still need to obtain the seller's agreement to release the deposit or a court order. In short, it is important for realtors to be aware of their limitations and to avoid providing legal advice or drafting language that contradicts established legal requirements. It is always best to consult with a licensed attorney for any legal advice or drafting of legal documents. The buyers may seek compensation from their realtors or brokers if they believe that they have been misled or provided with inaccurate information regarding the release of their earnest money deposit. In such cases, the buyer may argue that the realtor or broker acted negligently or breached their fiduciary duty by providing inaccurate information, which resulted in the loss of the earnest money deposit. Here is an example of the type of language you could see in a residential real estate contract in South Carolina. The parties understand and agree that under all circumstances, including default, escrow agent will not disburse earnest money deposit to either party until both parties have executed an agreement authorizing the disbursement or until a court of competent jurisdiction has directed a disbursement. It is important for both buyers and realtors to be aware of the requirements of South Carolina's earnest money deposit law and to ensure that the language in the sales contract accurately reflects these requirements. If there is any confusion or uncertainty regarding the release of the earnest money deposit, it is always best to consult with a licensed attorney who can provide legal guidance and advice. In summary, it is important to understand that the earnest money deposit is typically non-refundable unless both parties agree to its release or a court orders the release. Any legal matter is complex and fact-specific, and it is important to consult with a licensed attorney who can provide you with individualized legal advice tailored to your specific situation. Therefore, I strongly advise that if you have any legal questions or concerns, you should seek the advice of a qualified attorney. The information presented in this video is not a substitute for professional legal advice and should not be relied upon as such. Thank you for watching, and I hope you find this video informative and helpful.